Hi everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Undivided. Unfortunately, Wendy Jones couldn't be here with us today, but I'm here with the one and only Jason Dibelius.
That's right. Wendy's out there being better, making a better human being of herself and everybody else. But she's here in spirit. She's going to love this episode.
Absolutely. And I am Ashley Clark, and this is Undivided.
Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old National Guard Airman First Class, was arrested on Thursday in connection to the leak of classified Pentagon documents. The Washington Post reported the documents were posted on a private Discord community or server named Thug Shaker Central. It's a group of 20 to 30 people, mostly young men and teenagers, according to the New York Times. Some of the material that was leaked was included but not limited to: 1. Ukraine's vital air defense systems are running out of missiles, with stocks expected to be exhausted as soon as late this month or May, absent significant resupply. 2. The presence of U.S. Special Forces on the ground in Ukraine. And 3. The president asserting that there will be no resolution to the war for the rest of 2023. He's been charged with unauthorized detention and transmission of national defense information. So far, the counts can mount up to about 10-15 years in prison. In many cases, a leaker would go to the press. But Teixeira, however, did it to show off with his friends on Discord, a private site for gamers. To some, this should not matter. Award-winning journalist Glenn Greenwald was especially resentful in the media's complicit cooperation to out the name of the leaker. Here's Glenn.
And there's other important revelations here as well. And yet the New York Times and the Washington Post, instead of protecting sources, which is the role of journalists, instead has led the way to hunting down this source, to hunting down the leaker, to digging in an investigative way to find out who this leaker is and hand that information over to the FBI. They're handmaidens now of the FBI. I've never seen anything like it before. As journalists, we're supposed to rely on leaks. That's what we need and use in order to do our reporting. The idea that a journalist would be the one to actually go and find out who this leaker is and then reveal it publicly to the FBI is something that, honestly, I didn't even think I would see, notwithstanding that there are a few people who hold them in greater contempt than I do.
For me, there was no confusion at all. It was a message sent to any leaker courtesy of the mainstream press, and that is, if you don't come to us with this, not only will we not protect you, we will find you. Now, Ash, look, I'm a big believer in protecting classified documents in terms of not giving away anyone's tactical position, endangering our, operatives all over the country and putting them in harm's way. But this, I think people are paying more attention to the leaker as opposed to what is true. And once again, we find ourselves, attacking the messenger and not the message. What the hell is going on?
Well, I think some of the American population is starting to get wise to the fact that mainstream media is really not giving us all of the truth, or at the bare minimum, not giving us all the facts. So my question is, are people more mad that this top secret information was leaked, or are we mad because it is in direct opposition of what our president has said to us?
Yeah. Well, the other question is, I hate to answer that question with a question, but is this kind of a one-off thing? Is this kind of a rare thing, or is this a common occurrence in these Discord servers or whatever? Discord is actually, everyone thinks it's out there for all to see. These are pretty private things, and it's very hard to get in, but it's not hard to copy and paste stuff. No. Like if you're going to share documents, that's not hard to do. So, him doing that is very, very irresponsible, and he's definitely going to be looking at some jail time. I think whatever lawyer he has is probably going to work out a plea agreement, but again, I don't want that to escape the fact that
we're trying to avoid deaths. But Biden basically said, if he doesn't want peace for the rest of 2023, let's just keep killing people until we win.
Which, according to this, they're saying we're losing, which was another lie. America's believing we're winning this war. We're not winning this war. We're losing this war. America was promised that there wouldn't be any troops on the ground. There are troops on the ground. What happens if a Russian soldier shoots at a member of the American Spec Ops community? Like they said, special forces. I don't know if it's Navy SEALs. I don't know if it's Army Delta.
Right.
I don't know if it's just ambassadors or intel, Navy intel. We don't know. But if one of those guys gets shot and the press gets a hold of that, it's the beginning of the end. There's no more proxy war.
It's us against Russia,
Absolutely.
where there's no winner.
So is that the end game? Is that what we're going at? Is that what they're trying to go
I
at?
don't know. Do we got some millionaires and military people that have bunkers already set up for the great reset for overpopulation? I mean, there's a whole bunch of wild theories out there, but the net result would be the same.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just really hard. You know, I think what he did was not the right thing to do, but I also think that the more and more we are becoming aware of truth and lies and facts and opinions, then we're better equipped to think critically about the information that's being given to us by mainstream media and the news, and even our president. We need to be asking questions. Does this make sense? Why is this happening? And then we need to move forward from there.
I mean, that's like the police arresting a burglar and they see like 2 dead bodies, in the bathroom, and they're like, "No, we're just here for the burglar." Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
In fact, the 2 dead bodies, we said on the national press that those people were living happily in Europe, right? I mean, I'm going off the bent here, but this is ridiculous. And look. I hope they're not they're hard on. I really hope they're not that hard on him, and I really hope that there's some kind of leniency that goes with this because he's a stupid kid. He's an airman first class, dumb mistake that could have caused harm or whatever. But at the same time, I don't want the press to gloss over this.
So in this instance, is it a matter of we are upset that it's true, or is it true? Or are we upset that classified information was leaked and now we potentially have, security risks?
So the answer to that is, like, if we're talking about who's we, the Democratic Party must be disappointed in this, right? They were promised, they were assured that we wouldn't have troops on the ground. We were assured that we're trying to find an end or resolution to this war. Now we're finding out from this kid in the Discord room that they're not even trying. And I guess what you're asking, I'm going to punt the question back to you. And does the truth, as far as the weight of importance is concerned, is the truth trump, if you will, the leak and the non-agenda in this kid's case?
That's a really, really loaded question. For me, I go to the state of affairs in mainstream media and where we are right now. And for me, as long as no lives were put in danger based on that leaked information, like immediate danger, not like that something's going to come because the bombs have run out or whatever.
Right.
To me, the truth would trump in that situation because it's important, again, that we know the truth of what's going on, why our government's making certain decisions to be involved, to send money, to send bombs, or why we're not in certain cases too.
Yeah. And why was it necessary to lie? If there's no
bigger
resolution
question.
For the end of 2023, why don't you say so? If this person said, "I promise there's no troops on the ground," or if troops on the ground as counselors or ambassadors or intel people, just say so. Just say so. The American people can handle. Believe it or not, as dumb as Americans can be, we can handle the truth. Yes. This whole thing that we don't deserve to know because we're little children that has to be fed this information has become quite frustrating. In this case, I'm sickened.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, Ashley's radar is up next. Adar, right? Ashley's Adar is up next.
So at this point, I'm sure that most of you have seen the Bud Light ad starring trans woman activist Dylan Mulvaney. My first thought when I saw this commercial was, why the heck would Bud Light take such a big advertisement risk for just 1.4% of the US population? It would not surprise me if you or someone you know is currently boycotting Budweiser because of this new attempt at inclusiveness of the transgender community. Or maybe you were someone who rushed off to buy Bud Light for the first time that day. But here's the deal. That's the great thing about America. You have the freedom to make a choice. I also wouldn't be surprised, though, if you or someone you know has protested for BLM or against COVID-19 shutdowns or against certain products and businesses. Or maybe you just simply didn't go back to a restaurant after a bad experience. I know for me, I've joked I'm not going to eat at any fast food places that give us paper straws, because who really likes those anyways? I think some people are forgetting that this simple freedom of choice is what creates capitalism, where businesses are privately owned and products and services are offered. Then the consumer has purchase power and choice over how to spend their money. Chick-fil-A isn't open on Sundays due to their religious leanings, but I'm sure non-Christians of all kinds have still spent money there and even wish Chick-fil-A was open on Sundays. But we're not protesting that. In-N-Out has Bible verses on their packaging, but their businesses still seem to be booming every time I drive by one. If Budweiser wants to partner with Dylan Mulvaney to reach a younger audience by showing inclusivity in this fashion, then that's up to them. But don't forget, it's up to people like you and I, the consumer, to make decisions about buying that brand or not. And that empowers us to be a conscious capitalist where we choose to spend our money in socially responsible ways. If country star Riley Green wants to change a lyric of his song to say Coors instead of Bud, then that's okay, and we should let him change his lyrics the way he wants to. For those country fans, here's that sound bite. I'm strong, on the goodness like Friday. I wish you cars had truck fixed, every road was made copperhead, and coolers never run out, the Coors line. So why do we have to make such a big deal about it when a brand puts out an advertisement that we don't agree with? It's not like a 12-year-old can drink Bud Light yet, so who cares if they want to reach a younger drinking audience this way? Why do we have to be so hateful to each other on a topic that most of us don't fully understand yet? Oh, and did you all see Budweiser's desperate attempt at appeasing the fan base with a new and more nostalgic on-brand ad? You're in for a treat. This came out last Friday. Let's take a look.
Let me tell you a story about a beer rooted in the heart of America, found in a community where a handshake is a sure contract, brewed for those who found opportunity in challenge and hope in tomorrow, raised by generations, willing to sip, share, risk, remember. This is a story bigger than beer. This is the story of the American spirit.
For me personally, this just makes me dislike the Budweiser brand even more. You can't go from wanting to be inclusive of the trans community and women, then take a complete 180 and return to a male-dominated commercial including, hold on, a cruelly amputated horse. According to Alex Phillips in a Newsweek 90 article, animal rights organization People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, it's also called PETA, they called out the brewing company for needless mutilation of horsetails over the Clydesdale shown in the ad, which told viewers that Budweiser, one of America's company brands, was rooted in the heart of America. Here's the bottom line, the way I see it. There are far more important topics that the American people should be concerned with. So from my perspective, Budweiser has made themselves a big mess. I'm not a fan of either of these ads. I don't like the back and forth on ideology and morals because it shows a lack of integrity. And what are they going to do now that PETA is voicing their dismay? Jason, what the heck do you think Budweiser was thinking? And are they going to be able to come back from this?
You know, I gotta tell you, when you told me about the horse thing, all I could think of was Silence of the Lambs and that song, Goodbye Horses, I'm drowning over you. and that guy, Buffalo Bill, pretending he was amputated. This is just ridiculous, And in my understanding, I just found out recently it wasn't even an amputation because there's I guess connected to the iliac crest is like this tailbone. I don't know how many vertebrae have on a horse, but the tail's still there. It's just actually kind of a shaving. So goodbye horses, goodbye thick-skinned people, and goodbye people with common sense. Good Lord. And the one thing I got out of your diatribe that I loved the most was you're telling all of these people who have problems with this to sit their behind down, right? Mm-hmm. You basically told them, look, you don't like Chick-fil-A, I'm boycotting Chick-fil-A. You're not going to boycott Chick-fil-A. Stick that processed chicken ass in your mouth and just chew it and go, my God, that's so good. In-N-Out Burger, oh yeah. So anyone that's lived in California, you know damn well In-N-Out Burger ain't losing business. You can't even drive your car past the line. You can't even get past the line just to get away from In-N-Out Burger.
No.
All right? And anyone that has a cell phone, my cell phone looks like this, all right? Okay? Cobalt Minds, people. You have an iPhone. Just sit your behind down and stop criticizing people all the time, especially over stuff like this. And anyone that has a problem with this, I'm quoting Sam Harris on this, you are incapable of solving real problems because you're hysterical about imaginary ones.
Whew, that is a heavy statement.
You hear that siren?
Yeah, they agree too.
That's crazy.
Donald Trump Jr., that's his name, right? Donald Trump Jr.?
One of his kids, yeah.
He's even come out recently and has said, to the conservatives who put out the backlash and boycott for the Dylan Mulvaney ad, we are conservatives, we are religious people, we should give them some leeway. Like, they were trying to do something good. If we don't like it, then we shouldn't make a big boycott about it. We should just state what we have to state, or maybe not spend our money there and move on. Yeah.
And I buy into the whole thing, concept that we as human beings are addicted to train wrecks, right? Like, we watch Jersey Shore, they're on 6 seasons right now, you know what I mean? We watch Jerry Springer, we're disgusted with ourselves that we continue to keep watching, but this is different. Mm-hmm. This is pure hypocrisy, all right? This is pure hypocrisy. I think as far as solving real problems is concerned, they're just gonna have to miss me on this one. This isn't a real problem.
Yeah, so we're going to cut right to a commercial break, and when we come back, it's going to be Jason's Jadar.
I hope you're enjoying this new Be Better Media production of Undivided, produced by my company, Be Better Media. To see the world of why we are striving to share inspired edutainment, I invite you to please check us out at BeBetterMedia.tv. That's BeBetterMedia.tv.
Welcome back to the show. It's now time for Jason's Jadar.
I gotta tell you, for a guy like me who's rarely on Twitter, I find myself intrigued by the actions of the owner, Elon Musk. From labeling major news outlets to state-sponsored, to removing check marks from the other New York Times, to absolutely obliterating a BBC reporter, Elon, once again, remains the gift that keeps on giving. For many, it was all fun and games until he, released the other gift that kept on giving, the Twitter files. What remains to his protractors as a big nothing burger continues to produce damning information to the length government agencies would go to spy, censor, and shadow ban. Now, I know some of you are thinking, come on, man, we did this last week, and the week before that, and the week before that. And in terms of going after public tweets and posts and videos, I would say you're 100% right. But in terms of reading and spying on your DMs, your private messages? Well, listen for yourself. Here's Elon.
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes. Yes, because the DMs are not encrypted.
And yeah, I know. Even now, some of you are saying, so what? Some of you are thinking, what did I become? Defending the right-wing racist. You know, the guy who voted for Obama twice, and most recently and reluctantly voted for Biden.
You know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I actually voted for Biden. Not saying I'm a huge fan of Biden, because I would think that would probably be inaccurate. But you know, we have difficult choices to make in these presidential elections.
And my answer to all concerned or not, I will say this. This is the United States of America. We don't do that here. Call me an old school liberal. You know, liberals that believe in free speech. Liberals that are maybe not free speech absolutist. I say that I remain on my worst day flirting with the notion, as Ben Franklin would say, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Now, Ashley, I used the operative word enthusiast in terms of my application of free speech and not absolutist, right? Because very much like Elon Musk, I mean, I'm sure he's a free speech enthusiast, but he did kick people off Twitter that were doxing his family, like his travel plans. And everybody's like, oh, I told you he's not one. But so I know free speech has its limits. So I think people are nitpicking on these other things. And I know I sound like the biggest Elon fan because of this free speech, but I'm not a fan of him being in bed with the military-industrial complex. I'm not a fan of his dealings with China. So how do we ignore that and pay attention to what matters most to our values right now? It's free speech.
Well, I think the question needs to be, in order to keep ourselves to be able to separate those two concepts, I think we need to ask why the government feels that they need to be watching our DMs. Because I think that there is a certain level of national security for people who are terrorists or who are potential school shooters or something like that, where you should have a pulse on certain hot topics or potentially dangerous situations. But also, what's the reason for just checking into random people's DMs and then having to watch them and keep a hold on them? Why?
Well, I know the answer to many would say is control. Everybody wants to have control, and then leads to the question of what's the motive of their control? Why would they want to have control? Are you kidding? The one thing more neurologically addictive than greed is power. You want it. You never want to give that up for any reason. And we're in a two-party system that might give up a Senate seat here or a House seat there, but giving up power and anything that gets in the way of maintaining that power, they want to see coming a long way out. And, they started with our public tweets. They started censoring. They started, which basically, a lot of Republicans said that decided the election, but I don't think so. 7 million votes. 7 million votes is a lot to recover from. If there were more razor close, then I'd take a look at that. But now, this Orwellian approach to whatever I said to you on a DM last night that only me and you were supposed to know about, Big Brother's watching.
Yeah, and what do we do with that as American citizens? What do we do with that? How can we change it? Does it bother us that our government is just watching and laying in wait for us to do what exactly? Because like I said, there are national security measures that should be in place. But then there's also people like you and I, we go back and forth in our DMs on Twitter. It shouldn't have to be flagged by the government.
Well, maybe there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but if there was something we can do about it, I think I quoted Jesse Ventura, stop voting him in last 2 weeks. But find someone on a local level that you trust, and from the ground up, start voting in the right U.S. senators, start voting in the right U.S. House reps, the right state senators and state House reps, and from there create this as AOC has, with the squad or whatever. Start forming these squads where you hold these things on the House floor important, or you don't give them what they want.
And how do you suppose, because you've said that the last couple weeks, how do you suppose that we, as American citizens, decipher who is the right person for that job? Because seemingly we're all voting for somebody that we think is right for the job, and look where we are. So how, based on what we know about mainstream media and what they're feeding us, based on what we know about censorship and them watching our DMs, how do we know who to choose?
You know how you know who to choose? Find out who's spending the most money and vote for the other guy. Start,
like that.
Find out who's putting the most money in and vote for the other guy. Why would someone spend millions and millions of money to get a job that's significantly more than what the job pays? Because there's something other than him looking out for his constituents.
Yeah.
You know, let's vote for the guy who's making more money getting the job than campaigning for it. Get money out of it. Man, that's a whole nother episode. And that's where we are because we're at the tail end of ours. So let's go to fan questions.
What you got this week?
All right, this is one of our questions. Should Dianne Feinstein retire?
You know, to be honest, I don't know enough about Dianne Feinstein to even have an opinion on that right now.
Well, she's 91 years old. She hasn't shown up to vote yes or no on a lot of things, but not present. The Democrats don't want her to retire because they don't want to upset the balance. I think as far as Senate control is, they barely have control, holds on by a thread. But if you think Biden came into November on a dementia drumstick, I give you Dianne Feinstein. What else? What else we got? Question number 2. Should the NPR be federally defunded? I'll go first on this one. They claim that they don't have a lot of federal funding anyway, so yes. So if it's money they say they don't have, they won't miss it. Sure, defund.
I also don't know enough about that topic, so I'm just going to agree with you based on what you just said.
Do you hear? Isn't that awesome?
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, NPR claims that they're funded only 1%. Some people say 5%, and some people say it's 98% listener supported. And I guess that's true. But if that's true, then how would taking away the 1% of federal funding hurt them and PBS, their sister outlet?
Do you know what the amount of federal funding, that 1%, you know what it is?
No.
The dollar amount?
No, I don't. I know Elon said they were state-sponsored, which was actually demonstrably false. So he was wrong on that one. And they actually pulled themselves off of Twitter because, Elon lied on us. But federal funding, I don't know the end around how federal agencies can contribute and look like a person.
Yeah.
You know, but we may never know with Citizens United, right? Corporations of speech, so people can contribute whatever they want, and you don't know who it is.
Yeah. The reason I asked that question was I wonder if there's a benefit to taking that 1% of funding that is for NPR currently and moving it to somewhere else, if that's advantageous for,
Well, I say yes if it's just a small percentage, but if it gets rid of Big Bird, no, let's keep that 1%. I like Big Bird. You like Big Bird?
I like Big Bird too.
Oh, come on.
Sesame Street. Yeah, I watched that growing up for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all we got. Until next week, for Ashley Clark, I'm Jason Dibelius. We are Undivided.